Hello. What do you see when you look at me? Do you see me, or do you see a screen? Do I feel like I'm in the room with you, or like just to the right of your little editing suite?
Yeah, that one.
The gaze that you provide me now is, in the two essays that I'll be talking about today, essential in watching a film. Because the power is in the hands of the eyes that gaze, not the image that is seen. That's a bit confusing. Let's backtrack a bit. In 1986, French writer, philosopher, Roland Barthes wrote Leaving the Movie Theatre, that began, "There is something to confess. Your speaker likes to leave a movie theatre." He describes the sense of leaving a cinema, that moment when you feel dazed, limp, almost used up by what you've seen. For example, when me and my brother watched Skyfall in cinemas, when we left we were energetic but tired. We were worn out by what we'd seen, but we also wanted to do kick flips, jump around, whatever Bond had done. We were coming out, in Barthes' terms, of hypnosis. For Barthes, this feeling comes in the way that you're set up within the movie theatre. Your eyes aren't plugged in to experience the screen. You look into the screen, but also around the screen at the same time. There are two bodies for him. The first is the narcissistic body, which gazes into the mirror of the film. The second is the perverse body, which fetishizes whatever exceeds the image. The texture of the sound, the hall, the darkness, the obscure mass of the other bodies, the rays of light entering the theatre. But how can you watch something twice at the same time? Well, in his essay, The World of Wrestling, he describes a similar multi-gaze. It's the idea that we all know wrestling isn't real, but choose to believe it to be entertained. After all, wrestling and film share that feeling of being engaged with a story, while being engaged with the idea that you're being told a story. So, we have the structure of a cinema, the architecture of that dark room made to channel your eyes at the screen. We can see this structure though. We can understand what's being done to us. But what if it was doing more? Systems and structures, like the one in Barthes' essay, are built to be objective. It's a one-size-fits-all for a population of billions. There's a problem with building something to be objective though. Objectivity doesn't really exist. You can't make trousers that fit everyone, but you can try, and then some people won't fit it. You can make mass media, but your version of mass won't be anyone else's version. In her essay, The Oppositional Gaze, Bell Hooks writes about the concept of the oppositional gaze, describing it as the gaze you'd give a parent who tells you not to look, not to disobey. By black, especially black female, characters are being minimal, sidelined and stereotyped to high hell, the creators are essentially saying to black audiences, this isn't for you to see. You aren't to be seen or desired. So, what does Bell Hooks do? She looks. The oppositional gaze, in Hooks' view, is the critical gaze, in which awareness is first and foremost framed in the knowledge that mass media maintains the values of white supremacy. It's an engagement in negation, an active look at absence. This differs between black men and black women. Heterosexual black men would be punished for daring to look at white women. The black woman, whose role in cinema began with absence over the white woman's role as someone to be seen, would have nothing of themselves to look at, removing the narcissistic body if we're taking Barthes' multi-gaze idea seriously. Well, the black men punished for looking at white women could oppose the screen's demands by gazing at the desired image of whiteness, which doesn't really help anything. For black women, the answer was less clear. Hooks relays the feeling of being alone in a cinema, as other black women she talks to disregard the form for its spectatorship that leaves them out as both image and spectator. The oppositional gaze is her response, a learnt response in which the film's value is depleted by interrogating the construction of structures like phallocentrism, resisting the film's desires to consume their works uncritically. This process, this gaze, comes naturally in Hooks' view to those who these films aren't made for. When your eyes are pulled to something that isn't made for you, you're freer to understand the flaws in how it was made. But it's not imperfections in the structure. The structure that they mention is imperfect by being a structure, an attempt to control the uncontrollable uniqueness of the mass that we all inhabit. Both essays can be seen to tie into the ideas of the phallocentrism of authorship. By devaluing the intentions of producers of media, we also devalue a society that places a hierarchy on penmanship. In leaving the movie theatre, by leaving the screen's attempt to control what we see, we also have the capacity to understand what we're framed not to see. In the oppositional gaze, we fully collide with who we're not shown, and how even in talking about structure, we can find ourselves avoiding the people who can't fit. Can't fit. For these gazes to work, they could work in any film. But for me to sit here and to talk through just any old film wouldn't really be exciting for you. So why not get weird with it? Wild at Heart begins with a very peculiar fitting of the structures we've talked about today. One indicator is its location. It was recently revived in cinemas as part of the new Nicolas Cage movie starring Nicolas Cage about Nicolas Cage. It's profitable for old films now to come back on screens. Old icons being cheered on in cinemas with crowds. You don't even need the film to be good to enjoy it. In terms of the content itself, let's take a look at the opening scene.
Tell me, how's that cute little cunt Luna feel about that? Uh-oh. You know, Marietta just gave me this to kill you. And after she said Luna's mine and all the way.
Yeah, let's stop it there. Each character in the film almost suits their assigned roles too perfectly. Luna just watches and screams. She's an image. She's there to be looked at. Her mom, the one who wants Nick Cage dead, can only do so through a man. She's still passive. Reggie is both active and punished for his comments towards Luna, for his desire of the white woman. Nick Cage beats the shit out of him. He's active, and he gets the win. There are moments that might suggest that David Lynch knew the structure that he was following. Especially further in the film, you get these jarring shifts where something feels off in this format of a life that we're watching. But by this not being commented on, we are in control of how we take these scenes. Look up David Lynch Explained, and your computer will crash with the amount of people who have their own beliefs on what his work means. The amount of content produced from his work almost perfectly fits our idea of the gaze, where the methods and places we watch them, or the racially or sexually critical lens we watch them through, can drastically impact what one film or even scene means to us, the audience. Each essay has its own way of leaning away from the style of academic writing that would discredit its points. Hooks, in quoting both non-fictional writers, fiction extracts and conversations with black female moviegoers, demonstrates the nature of an influence of something that has no boundaries of supposed credibility. This thinking, possibly influenced by Hooks' focus in intersectionality, values anyone's voice, leaving the movie theatre too. Begins with something he likes, the unapologetic influence of liking something, by being personal, especially by ending in a question, but suggests the continuation of this feeling. Unfortunately, there are still elements of the old frameworks that continue to run through these essays. By using low-frequency language, essays can specifically stop a certain amount of people from being able to access what they're trying to say. By locking this idea of seeing behind a wall of higher language, it becomes a matter that only the chosen can understand. It's a nice quote, I wonder where it came from. Oh! Bell Hooks both acknowledges certain criticism that blocks less English-oriented educated readers, as well as actually having language that would suit an audience that hasn't been in a lifestyle that gives you the experiences of words that Barthes uses. They aren't doomed by their readability. Barthes' essay, I think, is better summarised. Hooks is better read, but both are better defined as individual proposals of the gaze that we pass on. The hierarchy of readers doesn't have to matter when we have people who can use them in more accessible ways. The essays are, themselves, there to be an influence without being perfect, which is post-structuralist in the way that we can accept, yeah, it's all cool, these are people. Humans can be influenced by structures, but we're learning. I think it's nice. The idea of the gaze, especially for audiovisual media like film, one of the most importantly accessible and influential forms of art out there today, can help us wash off that greasy layer of structured intent in everything that we see and take in. When there are so many forms to take in today, but we're pulled more into the screen than ever before, there's never been a better time to think about why we're pulled in, and what we'll see and what we can't see. And here, this isn't even on, it's unplugged.